Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Frankly Speaking Baseball right here on WWBG 1470 AM and Tobacco Road Sports Radio.com. And I'll tell you what, folks, it is now a great honor, thrill, and pleasure to have former Oakland A's All-Star pitcher. Let's welcome in Mike Norris. Mike, how you doing?
I'm fine. What an introduction. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Mike. Hey, Mike, I got to ask you this question. 1973, you're drafted by the Oakland A's. I believe you were if I'm correct, now I'm going back in time. I was born then. I believe it was 24th overall, if I'm correct. How nice was it to be able to be drafted by a hometown team? I know you grew up in San Francisco. Oakland's right across the bridge. How nice was that to be able to stay at home?
Well, only thing better than that could have been was when the Giants drafted me, but of course the A's did, and it was a scary thought at first, the fact that they had such a great pitching staff that I realized I might be in the minor leagues forever. But, life has its way of working things out, so I only spent a year and a half in the minor leagues and was at 19 in the big leagues. So it worked out wonderful. It was a dream come true. And it was a blessing, basically.
7 years later, 1980, you have your best career year, 22-9, 24 complete games, 2.53 ERI, and also won a Gold Glove, I believe, that year as well. Talk about that year and how special that year was for you.
Well, special is a great word, but it was basically magical. It was just things all fell into place. After my elbow surgery, my rookie year, I started out with a complete game shutout, my major league debut, and 2 games later, I blew my elbow out. So I was kind of going up and down in the minor leagues and back to the big leagues the next 2 or 3 years, and finally, Billy Martin came and gave me some finality as to what I was going to be in the major leagues. So it was just great. Everything was working out. The fact that Billy Martin came and brought some structure to an organization that was basically in the same position as they're right now, and turned that organization around. And so it was just wonderful. That was basically a dream year too. So it was incredible.
The following year, I believe that was the strike shortened year. The year before, I know you, even with your incredible record and everything, you were denied an All-Star game appearance. But the following year, you were able to go to the All-Star game. You were selected. How special is it to be able to go to an All-Star game with all those great players?
Well, now that basically is a dream come true right there. I mean, it doesn't sink in until you actually get on the field and you look at everybody and go, wow, I'm actually one of the best players in baseball. And when that sinks into you, that just solidifies the ability that you have. Your future looks brighter. And it's just an amazing concept.
You were on a pitching staff that was considered amazing. I mean, you're on the cover of Sports Illustrated that year. You have Langford, you have Keough, you had Kingman, you had McCarty, and, of course, a bullpen. Talk about how special that pitching staff was. I mean, you played on it. You saw it firsthand. And also, I know it had to be real nice for the manager as well as the players to know, over 60% of the times that any of you starting guys went out there, you were going to complete the game.
Well, what's really ironic is that that's what you're known to do from high school all the way up through the minor leagues, that you're going to complete what you start, you complete. So at that point, bullpens hadn't come as fortified as they are now. And I think we basically changed the game of baseball as far as pitching is concerned, because now, after all of our arms burned out, and I don't really blame that on Billy Martin. A lot of people say Billy blew our arms out, but we really didn't. We were on a 5-man rotation for one, and we had pitch counts that we followed. But we were all preached that about throwing strikes and baseball based on balls weren't accepted. And so when you don't have a lot of walks and a lot of pitches thrown, then you can go into that ninth inning feeling pretty good. Now the only thing is, when we mentioned the bullpen, Billy didn't have trust in our bullpen. We had some capable arms out there, but he just didn't trust them. And so kind of when Billy would come out to the mound in the eighth or ninth inning and he looked you dead in the eye and he wanted to see that testicle fortitude that you had. And if you said, and when he asked you were you tired, you better not say no, because that's the look you were going to get, And so that just kind of really gave you more confidence that the fact that he was confident enough to leave you in and pitch out of a situation. So it worked well for me.
Now, you talked about Billy not ruining the arms of the players and stuff like that. There was a couple different scenarios that could have led to that. But forget about the arms for a second. How was playing for Billy Martin, the manager?
It was a dream come true for me because like I mentioned earlier, I was in flux between going up and down to the minor leagues, and here's somebody that gave me the ball, every 5 days. And after the start that I got off to, which was really good, you could just see that he really believed in you. And I got the ace of the staff one night. I pitched a game in Toronto and lost in 10 innings. I think the score was 1-0. I'm not quite sure what the score was. And after the game, I was so angry that I went into the clubhouse and in the bathroom with a baseball bat and pretty much destroyed the bathroom. And I guess from inside in the locker room, all you could hear was bang, bang, boom, boom, bang, bang, boom, boom. And this must have went on for about close to 5 minutes. That's what you call a big league snap. And so when I came out of the bathroom and all my teammates were looking at me like I lost my mind, but Billy, who was generally should have been in his manager's office, was standing there in the middle of the floor, and he looks at me, and I look back at him, and he winks at me, and then he tells me in front of the whole team, Michael Norris, you're the ace of my staff now. And that was wow. So, that was another great moment. That kind of led me to feel like, okay, well, I'm the best pitcher on the staff, and so I can go out here and do that now.
How much extra pressure did that, or if any, did that put on you, knowing that you were the ace of the staff?
Well, none, actually, because I've been that all my life. I've always been the best pitcher, whatever league I was in, whatever team I was on. So it was quite comfortable. And so my teammates rallied around me. And when they, I remember one night we were in Chicago, and I was pitching the next day. It was a day game, I believe. So I was at the ice machine trying to get something for my soda, and it was maybe about 1 o'clock in the morning. So there was no ice in the ice machines. So I went downstairs to the bar, and there was nobody in there. But I looked around, and there was 3 of my ball players, and 2 of them were outfielders. And I looked at him, and I kind of got a little angry at him, like, hey, man, what are you guys doing, man? We got a day game tomorrow, man. You guys sit down here drinking. And they go, you're pitching tomorrow, right? And I said, yeah. He said, well, we won't have to do a whole lot of running. We're okay. I thought, well, that's a pretty good compliment right there. And I just kind of said, well, okay, man. And I took my ice bucket and went on back upstairs. And so that was some more solidification that, that my teammates felt that way about me. So, things are good.
We're talking to Mike Norris, former Oakland A's all-star pitcher. Mike, you're talking about some special moments in your career as we're talking. Talk about getting to the playoffs and being able to shut out the Kansas City Royals in the AL Championship Series.
Well, the word solidifying, that was another step that let me know that I was pretty darn good. I wasn't having that great of a season. It started out great, but when the strike went on, I think I was 8-3 before the strike ended or something like that, and wound up 12-9. But the last two starts, I threw a shutout before I went into the league championship game. So I started to get back in shape. We had all got out of shape. That was the longest strike, I think, in the history of Major League Baseball. Well over a couple months. And so yeah, that was tough. But that was great to come back and do that and pitch that playoff game. That was really super. That was my first playoff game actually, so that was a good challenge for me, on another hurdle to cross.
Yeah, talking about hurdles to cross later on in your career, I know you got into some drug addiction, and it raises the question, and I can't think of a better person to ask, when you're hurt, Mike, and now you have to make the decision of plays, provide for my family, or not play, or take the drugs and do play. I mean, how much of a tough decision was that for you in your life?
Well, first of all, the drugs was the worst and most stupidest thing I ever done. But there was some justice behind it, like you mentioned. It started out with codeine, and then those are hard to get because you need a prescription for that. And then somebody introduced me to the cocaine, and that's a numbing effect. So I was able to go out there and try to pitch with my arm killing me, which really didn't work. So then now you have an addiction. And so that's what pretty much was the bad side of it. And then you begin to get a DUI or two, and then the next thing you know, you're in a drug clinic, and it just snowballs, so.
But Mike, wasn't that, not that it makes it right or anything, but wasn't baseball in a bad spot at that time when it came to cocaine? Wasn't cocaine widely used during that era around baseball?
Well, I didn't want to bring, going to taking the blame off myself and,
right.
Distributing it in another place. But yeah, baseball, it was an epidemic. No doubt about it. The FBI had to come in and clean up the league, and they did a good job at it because after a couple of years, it wasn't heard of. You didn't see anybody trying to obtain it or purchase it or anything. It was just gone. So, yeah, that was pretty much the size of it.
Right. Now, let me ask you this before I let you run here, Mike. The Oakland A's, you mentioned at the beginning, are not in a very good spot right now, as you know. First of all, how hard is it for you to watch this team that you've been a part of not doing too well, although knowing that you were there at one time and was able to see it go from a terrible team to a very successful team?
Well, I've only watched one game, and I did that accidentally one night, and I thought to myself, why don't you just see the product that they're putting out there on the field? I mean, let's make a little comparison actually to when we had that really terrible team in '78. And we had a bunch of AAA ball players on the team. And so I watched it, and it was tough to watch because we at least had AAA ball players. I think a lot of these kids now were in AA probably last year. So they're learning how to pitch in the major leagues, which is, it's hard to do with somebody who has major league experience. So you can imagine what's going on. I think they had 50 home runs they had given up already this season. They have 6 guys in the lineup that are batting under 217. So there's no run production and there's no pitching. So that's tough to watch, man. I tell you. So they get average about 2,000 fans a game.
Right.
Opening day they had 3,500.
How much does it bother you? Last question, Mike. To see this team possibly getting up, the team you played for, and relocating to Vegas.
Well, as of yesterday, they still don't have it together. There's nothing signed yet. I didn't really absorb the detail, but it's not a done deal yet. But it will be tough because in the city of Oakland, which is a city of champions, has been known in the past. Our basketball team, of course, the Golden State Warriors, they've left and gone to San Francisco. The Raiders have left twice, and now they're gone to Las Vegas. And it's just going to be unbelievable to not have a major league franchise or a professional team in Oakland anymore. It's just, it's just sad even to picture it. And I think this kind of leads to some of the crime and stuff that's going on in Oakland. It's really a tough place to live here now. And so sports was an outlet for most people, but to have no teams now, it's just going to be really bad.
Yeah, and you hate to see that happen if it does happen to a city like Oakland. Well, listen, my friend, time goes quick, but I want to thank you so very, very much taking time out of your busy schedule to come on to Frankly Speaking Baseball.
No problem, man. I enjoyed the interview. You did a good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my friend. Stay safe.
Okay, you too.
All right, that was the great Mike Norris, former A's All-Star pitcher. Oh, baby, what a show we had today. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Until next weekend, I'm Larry Frank, Frankly Speaking Baseball.